Bum 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 bum. The Peter Shit Show. Bum 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 bum. I'm calling my show the Peter Shit Show because I'm having a little bit of an existential crisis. Earlier today, I recorded a video about burnout, but more generally, I'm having a crisis of not knowing where I belong in this life. I look at the last 10, 20, 30 years of my life and realize that I'm sailing nowhere, and it's just become a big source of soreness in my life. And earlier today, I had another reminder of this. I was randomly browsing Facebook. As you guys know, I've been having a lot of difficulty networking socially with people in the Phoenix area. So to see a friend suggestion on Facebook, I'll usually at least take a look at it, right? With a grain of salt, obviously. But I looked and I couldn't believe my eyes. I almost didn't recognize it because the last name was different. But it was a girl that I had known in third grade that I had a crush on. My family had moved me out of one part of town to another when I was going from third to fourth grade. And I decided to open it to see what she's been up to. And I discovered she's been married and divorced twice. And now she's living with her parents in the same home that she lived in when she was in third grade. And so I decided to do a little bit more digging into that. I lost touch with a lot of people when my family moved me across town. It was only a 3-4 mile move, but I lost a lot of connections. And I also it also created a lot of problems for me because my family moved us to a much better part of town, created a lot of jealousy and rift between me and my classmates. I lived really close to the school, so everybody could see where I got off on the school bus. And I was upset, and I sent my dad an email asking, "Why'd you move us out of that home?" And the next thing I did was I decided to go to Zillow to check out how much our old home was worth. Because I knew the old home that we lived in probably had appreciated a lot more than that new home that my parents moved me into. And I wanted to tell my dad, see, had you stayed in that old home, you could have bought how many tons of silver and you could have retired by it. I was hoping to brag to my dad about this. That's why I looked up the values of the old home and the new home. And when I looked up the old home, to my surprise, the family that had bought the old home from my parents, they still lived there. I was looking at Zillow. My family had sold the home in 1997, and it had never changed hands since then. I don't know who bought it, but on the page it said it hadn't changed hands since 1997. And as I was thinking about that, it hit me that, obviously I don't know if this is what happened, it hit me that had the new family taken out a 30-year mortgage to buy the home, they would be paying their last payments right now. 30 years, and it just gave me a moment of sadness that it felt like I had just woken up from a 30-year nap, because it wasn't that long. I could probably, if I were to go back to that home today, I could probably still make my way to my bedroom, to the kitchen. I could probably still recognize the layout of that home. I really could. I still remember shoveling snow on the driveway in that home. I looked at that picture, and it literally looked like I could walk through the front door and remember where everything is. It literally did. I'm not joking and I'm not exaggerating when I say that. And then I stopped to think about the last 30 years of my life, what I've accomplished, and I couldn't name very many things. The first things that came to my mind when I thought about the last 30 years was in 2010 when I proposed marriage to myself. Unfortunately, I've since gotten divorced. I'll get to that in a second. So I had a 13-year marriage to myself. I thought about the number one AI for backgammon that I wrote, which I named Corona Gammon because I wrote the bulk of it during the COVID crisis. And then I thought about, obviously, my latest pride and joy, the metal casting, especially bismuth, right? But then I couldn't name too many other things. I'll talk about the divorce. I was working on my PhD when I decided to go on a date with myself to a coin show, and I had a really good time. And that's when I decided that my main relationship would be to myself, I would still make friends out there, obviously. Unfortunately, all of that came to an end this past year. I was teaching here at Phoenix College as well as another school, Grand Canyon University, GCU, and it wasn't really a good fit, and now I'm moving to a different school. And I was obviously also working on my art projects, and then I had to take care of my, just personal needs, right, eating and all that. And I was burnt out. And then I look at my colleagues and I see that they have a second set of hands to take care of the house, and they might even have, instead of just 2 incomes, they have 4 incomes, right? And so it really hit me that maybe I should partner up with the right person and do that. And so I love being treated as an equal. So I went online to download some divorce paperwork, and I filled it out, and I hung it in my office. And that was that. And I swore to go out and network with more people, and that's where we are today. And so the marriage to myself and the divorce, those were both very happy days for me. And I wrote, when I heard that we had to stay home for 2 weeks, I had already written a number of number 1 AIs for various games. I decided to take backgammon as my challenge. And then obviously 2 years ago I started my art career. I was trying to take my mind off of some other things. I was running into job toxicity in Seattle, Washington. I had just broken up with a girl over there as well, and we had returned from the COVID lockdown, and I guess she had other people to network with, and so that was that. And so to take my mind off of it, actually the reason I chose bismuth was quite by accident. I was doing some tutoring, and one of my students had shown me this periodic table that showed the rarity of all the elements on the periodic table. And I discovered how rare bismuth is in relation to how cheap it is, and I decided to buy some, and then I decided to make some art out of it, right? Sometimes God has a way of intervening as well, right? And so that takes us to 30 years. Today is actually father-in-law day, and I actually sent her dad a message as well because I discovered they're still living together. She has a good relationship with her family, and so that could be my future father-in-law, I guess, if it turns out. All right, just a moment of sadness thinking about how the family who moved into our old home is just about to mail out their last mortgage payment, and how very little has changed in my life, and how I literally, when I hit it big with bismuth, I could literally buy that house back and walk right in as if I had never left the house, right? That's really how I feel about it. This is the Peter Shit Show! Bum 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 bum. The Peter Shit Show! Bum 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 bum.